Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2Have 2Role podcast. My name is Oliver. I am one half of your hosting duo. My co-host Robin and I are joined by Autumn. Autumn is a crew member at the Empire LARP game system here in the UK. Autumn also runs the Empire LARP audio channel, where Autumn and her team read out and make audio versions of the Empire wiki entries. The Profound Decisions team release wiki entries in between events called the Winds of War and the Winds of Fortune. These are updates on what's happening in the campaign and the greater world within Empire. And with thousands of players, there is a lot of information to be put out there during this downtime. We talk about what goes into turning the wiki into an audio form. We also talk about what it's like to be a referee in the Empire LARP system. If you are watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing. It is completely free and it goes a long way to help support us. If you are listening on your favorite audio platform, consider giving us a 5-star review. And with that all out of the way, let's get into our conversation with Autumn. There we go, we're recording. We have Autumn here with us of Empire LARP Audio. Not just of Empire LARP Audio, of many things, I'm sure, right?
Just a few.
Yeah. So how did you get into the LARP sphere, Autumn?
Well, LARP sphere in general. Oh God, back when it was PD running Maelstrom.
Mm.
So I must have been 17.
Uh-huh.
One of my friends had mentioned, so there's this thing that you could do. You know how you love your video games, right? Yeah. Well, there's this thing called LARP where you can like dress up and be your character. And I'm like, it's cosplay, but better. Oh my God, let's go. And they've never managed to get rid of me. So, it just hasn't happened.
So were you in Maelstrom how long did Maelstrom actually run for?
Maelstrom was running for a very long time.
Really?
I think I came into Maelstrom about halfway through its lifespan.
Yeah. Oh wow! So
so
you were quite heavily invested in it then because that's the one they blew up, right? They went.
Oh yeah, big red button.
Yeah. What was that like?
Big red button.
Because I can't imagine it in Empire. Like, I can't wrap my head around what that would be like.
I think I'd be devastated.
And that's the thing. Loads of people were so upset when it finished, but before it finished, we got the little flyers that came out saying new game, Empire LARP, and they were also running another game at the time called Odyssey, which I sort of half worked on and half played. Watching that entire game blow up was heartbreaking, but also fascinating to see what happened in the end.
Yeah.
Because like end of the game, end of the last sort of weekend, we all got around Matt and the game crew. We're all sort of sat in a semicircle around the tavern, but the tavern had a second floor then, so it's Matt up top. And it was like free for all questions of all the answers that people have been wondering about. And, you know, there was like a famous undead in the system called Dandy. And finally, someone asked, who is Dandy's necromancer? And this one guy who like nobody knew stood up in the crowd and went, I am Dandy's necromancer. Roaring applause, furious, crying. Like that's the vibe of all the little plot lines and stories and all coming to an end, and then everybody getting so excited for Empire.
I had no idea they did that. That's like a post series HBO kind of sit down chat thing, being like,
oh yeah,
so,
everyone's theories being like, you know, brought out and discussed and everything. That's like that's a bit more exciting then, yeah.
Yeah, if they hadn't have done that and it had all been like off or like done online or something, you wouldn't have had the impact. But hearing all the answers being questioned at the end of the game was fascinating. I don't think you could do that with Empire because the game's too big.
Yeah, do you think it is getting to that stage? Because I remember I said to Matt, because I was fascinated by the whole like blowing the system up thing, and I'm just like, I don't know whether it's just I can't wrap my head around it because like it just feels like it's an IP now that will just be around even if the game doesn't run, right?
Yeah,
there's like music of it, and there's so much art, and there's so many stories that people tell about it. I just can't imagine it just like, all right, now it's gone completely forever.
Like don't quote me on this, but the way that I understand it is in Matt's games, there tends to be buttons built into it. So anything that PD runs, I expect that there will be a big red button that says don't press, or a number or a series of buttons that say you are welcome to press these and suffer the consequences of your actions. I can imagine it happening, but I can't see it happening with Empire at any point in the same way it would have done with Maelstrom.
Right. So not like an end of the world, right? You're all dying this event, so have fun type thing.
No, couldn't see it happening. It'd be a Rolling Stone situation. Yeah. And it'd slowly start building and all. Because like in Empire, you've got so many people making so many decisions, profound decisions, one might say. Yeah. And the reaction to them can be so varied and so organic in the game. You can't guess what's really going to happen. Like some plot writers might have a good idea of like, okay, there's this option, but in the whole sphere of the field with so much plot going on and so many like interpersonal relationships, it's always something. There's always something interesting, and there's always like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. It sounds like, because it sounds like Matt had a plan, obviously, with Empire. So I think even though I can't get my head around it from what he was saying to us, and what you just said there, and profound decisions, they put forward Empire, because Matt is very much like, if I had a better game to run than Empire, that I would run it. So I'm assuming that's what the situation was at Maelstrom. I'm assuming it was very much like, okay, we're ending this, but this is
we have something else. Yeah. So, and like they ran Odyssey at the same time as well, which was a vastly different game, but was still loads of fun. Mm-hmm. But like it feels like, and you'll forgive the analogy, HBO had a series called Rome, right? Mm-hmm. Wonderful, absolutely impeccable. That died, and then Game of Thrones came afterwards, and it blew everybody. Sometimes, even if the game is good, you've got to go, I'm just going to shelve that to go and do this cool thing over here.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think Empire has the player base, the teams, the structure to be able to continue building it rather than going press the big red button or just shelve it and then we'll make something else. I think Empire's got a lot left to give.
Yeah, I hadn't actually considered that. Yeah, because Game of Thrones, from when the game's been running, Game of Thrones was kind of like the hot thing, you know. Mm-hmm. It looks like it's got better legs than Game of Thrones as well.
Yeah,
because it's still going.
I think it's lasted longer. There we go.
Yeah,
it certainly has.
Well, I hope they don't end it like Game of Thrones.
I will be upset.
There would be outrage.
Can you imagine? So you played in Maelstrom and in Odyssey. So when Empire came along, have you ever played Empire, or have you just Crew?
So I mostly played Maelstrom. I then sort of half played and half crewed Odyssey. So I worked in like costume and SFX, makeup, special effects in Odyssey, and played one god.
Played a god?
Yeah. I played a god in Odyssey. So I played Hecate in Odyssey, which meant I had a certain member of staff, Matt, in a dog mask, fanning me with a palm frond, because it was one of his favorite gods and he wanted to be there. So I was like, this is amazing. This is cool. And then Empire came along and I said, I'm a play. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go play for a bit. I played for 2 events. Mm-hmm. And I went, this isn't for me. Weirdly, it isn't for me. And there were some teething troubles back then. And it wasn't so much to do with the game, but because it was a new and emergent system and people were sort of transitioning from playing Maelstrom into Empire, it felt a bit kind of, I'm not quite ready for this yet. I'm going to leave it for a bit. And then I came back as a player again. Oh, God, how many years ago are we talking? 6 years ago? Mm-hmm. And I played again in Navarre. And I was the brand of the Bitterbark, and the Bitterbarks had a tea house. So we're like a nice little, for anyone who's wondering, had a nice, lovely little central hub that was a tea house, but also a den of absolute snakes and rumor mongering and spy mastery, because it was a tea house and we served the tea.
Yep.
Oh, not always the tea. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, okay, we'll just rejig the tea house, because I don't really want to be serving food and drink post-pandemic. I'd be way too worried. And slowly that train of thought went around to, maybe I just don't want to play anymore. And made big eyes at people like Claire Evans and Emma Woods. And they went, send us an email. You know where to send it. Do you tell us what you want to do? And I went, okay, I'd like to try reffing full time, please. And that started at the first event after the pandemic. And now I'm here again, crewing for PD. Again.
So were you reffing for other systems then before you decided to jump into reffing there, or?
No. Now, reffing wasn't a thing that had really ever appealed to me, weirdly, in other systems. I had a quick look at like LT and reffing there. I was like, nah, not really my thing. But I'd always enjoyed working on like the special effects stuff. So I went, well, I've been playing this game long enough now that I can probably ref. And if I don't know the question, we've got tablets. So I thought, yeah, okay, we'll do that. I will time how long it takes me to start doing SFX again, because it will eventually happen. And what you can't see is all the SFX stuff I've been working on hidden over the other side of this Kallax so that nobody can see it. I'm like, move that out of the way. That's secret. Put it over there. So yeah, it wasn't something that I thought I'd end up doing. And it's in reality, maybe a third of what I end up doing for PD. But the reffing, I love it. I really enjoy it.
Something we know very little about. So
yeah.
Do you have like, is there a, because I know there's a lot of like volunteer, you're all volunteers, but there's a lot of people who play and then will battle ref. Is there like two teams of like battle refs and refs that obviously just walk around the field, or are you all just doing every type of reffing?
So here's the deal. So if you're going to, well, if you're a player and you say, okay, I'm going to fight one battle, but I kind of don't want to monster the other one. I'd rather do like a battlefield ref thing. You can do that. That doesn't make you a ref. It makes you like for that particular battle, you're volunteering to help out the skirmish refs.
Right.
Which is it's a great alternative if, say, you can't get into makeup. I initially did that because I was in full Madden makeup. I'm like, if you think I'm putting a latex mask on when I have beat my face this well, that ain't happening. I also have a skin condition. So I was like, let's try battlefield reffing. So that's one thing you can do. But when you sign up to be a full-time ref, i.e. you don't play, full-time ref, you kind of have to pick where you're going. So most of the time people will go either I'm skirmish ref or I'm field ref. Field refs tend to, on the whole, walk about and respond to radio calls. Skirmish refs will be on things like encounters, skirmish, battle, that kind of thing. I am slightly different in that I live inside the Regio tent.
Okay.
Which is a new thing, sort of, because now the Regio tent's sort of become like a second god, almost. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Matt, don't kill me. Adam, please don't kill me for stating that, but it kind of is.
It seems like, because we went there once, because obviously when you go, you get your ritual done, then you've got to go in and give your PID and things like that.
Yeah.
So is that you then reffing? Yeah, how does it work? So with rituals, do like refs need to be present for that type of thing to be like making sure that it's everything's going
every single, so we don't mark your rituals, right? It's not like in LT where you get like a little scoreboard out of X. The rituals are prescribed on the wiki as to what you need to do, but every single ritual that you do has to be registered with us.
Right.
because there's always an effect that comes out of the end of it, whether it's aesthetic or mechanical or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not like ripping a potion and then you monitor the effects of it. Because like if you do a ritual like, I don't know, Twilight Masquerade, and you change your lineage, but you don't register it, we don't know. Or say if you do, I don't know, the one for the herb gardens. I've now completely forgotten what it's called, and I'm the one who processes the most of them. It's a winter one for herb gardens, anyway.
Robin, you should know this.
I should. I'm like,
Robin's in a winter house. You should know it.
Oh my god!
As soon as you said it, and I was like, oh yeah, my house had just done something like that. They've been talking about it for a while.
Oh my god! No, that's for discerning curses. I'll remember it in a minute, and I'll blurt it out. Watch.
It'll be something creepy.
So, yeah, it's winter. So if you do that, but you don't register it with us, you're not going to get the mechanical effect of having your herb garden production increased. So there was actually a recent rumor that went around the field saying, oh, if it's under this magnitude, you don't need to go register it. It's like, no, every single ritual has to come to us. So what we do in the Regio tent is people will come to us normally just after or just before they've done their ritual to go, okay, we've done this ritual on these things, give us some results. Sometimes it's just as simple as give us the mana and other stuff. Sometimes it's okay, now we've got to sit here and print out a little thing to read to them. Sometimes it's doing things like whispers through the black gate and making sure we've got the person who's being or thing that's being summoned in the tent. Then on top of that, I run the SFX that comes through the Regio stones. So there's like sounds and sound effects that come through it at different times. And then you'll have somebody like Lee or Wookie from SFX with like the dragon, which is a portable smoke machine, flamethrower. Standing behind the door.
Is this because people were saying that they like, PD, you've got a new smoke machine. Is this like a new thing?
The flamethrower has been around for a little while.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it's quite good, and it is literally a flamethrower.
That just throws.
It's quite dangerous. Yeah. So you've got to be really careful with it. And then so we've got SFX, and normally like because of the queues, 2 to 3 refs in that area at any one time. But we don't just do rituals; we do bondings and various other assorted things like checking skills, redoing ritual.
So that's good to know then, because sometimes you're like, oh, I need something bonded. So Regio tent is a good place to go.
Oh God, Rich, don't kill me! Don't kill me that.
Everybody line up. There does seem to be
here. Second God, Regio.
Is there always a line for rituals? Because sometimes I go up there and it's like it's quietish, and other times I go up there and it's like a big line. You know.
So it's the sun chair theory of if we go when everybody else has gone off to battle, there's going to be no queue. Now 1,000 other people are thinking that. So there's nearly always somebody waiting. But the biggest, like the number one question we always get asked, and I've considered having it printed and hung on the door, is the Regio free? Is there a queue? Now, here's the thing. The Regio queue has got nothing to do with the refs because that's in character.
Yeah.
If there are people in English fashion waiting to use the Regio,
you join the end of it.
You can, or you can murder everybody.
Yeah.
And then get used to the Regio. That is entirely an IC decision. To come and speak to us and register a ritual, that's different.
Yeah.
That is a case of wait in the queue. We'll get to you as soon as we can get to you. There's nearly always something going on. The quietest I tend to see it is about midnight on Saturday.
Yeah.
When everybody's at like a bar getting drunk. That's it. And that's when I go, right, bed.
There we go. The best time to go now. You've got 1,000 people showing up at midnight.
Don't you dare.
Everyone shows up. Get that smoke machine out. Do you have like different? I'm assuming you have like different effects for different rituals and times of day and things like that. Is it ritual specific or time of day specific? Or?
So I started making soundscapes based on which ritual you were casting. then realized how long that would take me. So I've got a couple of the bigger, more impactful rituals have got specific soundscapes that are designed to loop. So Whispers Through the Black Gate is the biggest one, and that one's even got SFX built in to time it. So if you ever do a Whispers Through the Black Gate, you'll hear bells going off, one at 3 minutes, one at 6 minutes, one at 9 minutes, and then 3 will go off at 10, which is when people will get pulled back behind the curtain of the labyrinth, so to speak. And for ones that we don't have specific soundscapes for, I basically have, it's something like a 20 gig sound bank in Ableton with a launch pad. Nice. That I can go, okay, I want bells, birds, and I want a river, and then I want ghosts. So I'll just press all those and let them ping off until I need them to stop.
Yeah. And you're just, what, because you're kind of ref, you're just like sitting there watching that, doing it in your kind of, you're just sitting there going, oh, this, now's time.
Now's time. Now we have to, and it's difficult sometimes, and it's something I'm going to have to look at for the next event, because if I'm looking like clear line of sight to the Regio to see what people are doing and what they're saying and their movements and whatnot, and then somebody stands in the doorway and is like, can I bomb this item? And I'm like, I can't see what they're doing. So we've talked about various ways of being able to like get up close or be able to have like a feed to hear what people are saying or see what they're doing, which we're looking at, but I think that's a long way off. Because that requires rigging them up and like putting mini Lavaliers or something in the
rigging them up, or even having something that you like actually sit inside or something like that, you know. Can you imagine?
But when I'm not doing that, it's just processing rituals and then occasionally responding to radio calls, or occasionally having to go off on encounters because they're short of folks. And then the only other super interesting thing I do is play an Eternal in the Regio.
Well, that's pretty interesting. So
it is kind of cool. So yeah, if you've ever been to the Regio at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday or Sunday, you'll hear Andy Raff playing Leviathan, doing his best Richard Nixon Space Whale voice. If you come at another time and you hear people asking for sung, i.e. doing Clear Counsel to the Overflowing River, you're hearing me from behind the Regio tent doing a silly voice.
So what is the what's the lore behind Eternals and coming to the realm? So when because they can't like come to like the mortal whatever it's called, the mortal realms or whatever, or not just the non-magical realm. So are they being like what's actually happening in game there? Are they being like the voice being projected or something, or what?
So with because Eternals can project their voices as long as there's a connection being made.
Right.
So when people do things like swim Leviathan's depth, they're paying a token to Leviathan to say, I am giving you this token and I'm asking you a question. And then when they come back to the ritual, they can go, right, Leviathan, give us your answer. And because they are effectively making a connection with that realm and with that Eternal can respond. So it's not just like them, say, Leviathan just knocking on the Regio stone and being like, oh, are you here yet? You have to like specifically request their presence. So that's the way that works. And it's the same for like Leviathan, Sung, and Roshanwi. Those are the 3 big sort of come and talk to me rituals.
How do you find playing Sung? What's the demeanor like? Is it?
I love Sung. She is, so in canon, she is a big winged rainbow serpent, and she's always very calm, and she never raises her voice. Very sibilant in her speech, and kind of playful because she really loves mystery, and she hates when people ask her direct questions like, give me the cold hard truth. And Sung would be like, go speak to the Globbersnatch. Why are you speaking to me? Like, I'm all about the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get responses from Sung, they're normally in riddles.
Ooh,
it's great fun.
It's juicy roleplay.
It's honestly great fun. Whereas Leviathan, which is the antithesis to Sung, the direct questioning is so direct. It's like using Google. He's the Empire's equivalent of Google. Ask a question, get an answer. Done.
Yeah, we need him. We need him on the wiki, like the little paperclip. You know, what can I help you find?
I see you're trying to destroy the Truge. Would you like a hand there? You know, that kind of thing. Oh my god,
that's cool. So Sung's, is it night? What realm is? Yeah, night realm. Yeah,
night.
Yeah, because there I've had no dealings with any type of night magic, but it's all about like indirectness, I guess, isn't it? Right? It's all about mystery and sleuthing. So what you said you go on like encounters and things like that. Do you like do a bit of like NPCing or a little bit of kind of skirmish crew or something?
So my first NPC thing is going to be next event, and I can't talk about it.
We won't tell.
We won't tell until the podcast comes out.
We won't tell, and then we tell everybody.
Everybody can piece it together. It's fine. I just can't say it out loud. So I've done a little bit of NPCing in other games, but not for Empire. And it's not because I don't want to. It's because I'm too busy.
Sounds it, yeah.
So it's normally, say, like, if you've ever seen like people heading off for the Calavisi Mystic Vision Quest things, they'll need a ref to guide them through the swamps, or just protect the periphery, or hand out curse cards, or start traumatic wounding everybody, that sort of thing. And I've done Battlefield, but because of the state of my joints, i.e. the crumbling to dust, I can't go and do all the running around and literally getting in the middle of crushes, because I will literally fall apart like wet cake if I do that now.
Yeah, it gets rough.
Yeah. It does. Like, I have been full on punched in the face by players before.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you like the refs. It is magic because you refs, you do disappear. Like, that's the immersion's so high, is like you disappear until we want to see you, which is and usually the only times we kind of want we notice that you're there is one, if we're like looking for you to be like, oh yeah, I want to bomb this item or something like that. Two, if you obviously like just appear in front of us in battle, and that you're like, oh, here's a traumatic wound. You're like, where did you come from?
It's like ghosts. It's great.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think because of the way that PD said at the start of the game, like, we don't want the refs to stand out too much, because it is kind of immersion breaking, and refs and other systems might be in like high vis, which is super immersion breaking, because that is a real world. So even if pink, orange with that silver back, as soon as I see that, I'm like, what's happening? But because of the way that refs dress in the gold, yellow quartered with the black, it's less intrusive.
Yeah.
And we don't try to like stand out in the middle of nowhere, like being very obvious. We'll try and move to the side or hide behind something so that we're not in the middle of it. And I think that's the magic of it. I think the magic is literally being able to say, we've got semi-icy kit, so that you can reduce the impact you have.
Like you say, it's reducing it, and just making it easier. And the third time that you notice refs in a meta way is when there's a few of them around, like a character or a monster, and you're like, oh dear,
something's happening. That's
the thing. Like, out on the battlefield, some of the situations I've seen refs get into are basically where, like, you know, about to charge into one another, and there'll be a little dip, and I'll just see some ref just sitting down there, and I'm just like, but how? Like, you're not safe there. Surely you're not safe. And then I forget about them after that. So I hope they're usually okay. But
they usually are.
Usually when you see them, it's like, or if we're like fighting and I'm like, oh, the ground's a bit bad here, and I start looking around for a ref for permission to keep going. And I'm like, oh, they're not stopping me, so let's just keep going.
Like, the amount of positions we've had to put ourselves in when doing like battlefield reffing stuff is two great big armies coming up against each other, ready to, and you literally dive into the gap and just arms out and do horse stance for as long as you can, or lay down.
Yeah.
Because then you become the physical barrier.
Yeah.
So that people, but like,
Hopefully.
sometimes you don't. Sometimes you take a calculated risk and realize you're bad at math.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and you get your face kicked, or you get accidentally like pole whipped by something.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. If you've been on battles where there's been barricades, like walls and stuff, people will try like going around the sides, over the top, and you just get face whipped with things. And that's the point where you're taking players aside and going, buddy, you need to not. My face hurts. I need you to not do that, please.
Yeah, it's quite it's tricky as well, because it's a high, it's like I say, it's a lot of people. It's a high adrenaline situation as well.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Oh yeah.
So it's not always, you're not always sure how players are going to react to you being like, hey, just.
You're about a 10. I need you to be about a 3 right about now, please. And that applies to the refs too. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not just the players in that high adrenaline. You're also in sort of a metered state of that, because you've got to make sure all these people are safe.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah. So
you've got to approach it. If a player has done something, either against the rules or isn't safe, you've got to approach it from a, here's factually the thing. Please don't.
Yeah.
And you've then got to process, if they do respond in a way that isn't good, how to then carry that on. But there's such a robust way of managing it, and we've got so many skirmish refs who are literally horizontal with how they manage these things, and so laid back and matter of fact that you are protected, and everybody's got your back if a player does incorrectly decide to kick off at you, because and that's the one thing. Don't question a ref when they say no in the moment. Always go back after the battle, whatever, and say, I think a ref made a bad call there. Can we discuss it? Like, absolutely, because sometimes we'll make mistakes. We're humans. We won't know everything. And sometimes we make bad calls because we're human.
Yeah. I was going to ask you
but
that.
In that moment, don't fight. Just accept, okay, cool, ref's word is law, go. And then question it afterwards. Yeah,
and this is an easy thing, like, because it's the immersion is so good, and that's like that you say the refs are adding, you're trying to facilitate that immersion, but there are times where you're just like, I'm actually fighting a load of orcs, and and you're like, no, actually they're probably my friend from another nation, in an orc mask, but you get competitive and. And then a ref will be, because I've done it myself. I've like a ref came up to me at E1 this year, and I was getting struck down so many times, and I went down, and a ref was like, you need to go all the way to the floor, and I was like, I did, and I was like, I did. I was like, no, I'm sorry, okay,
fine,
I'm sorry, but you just.
I did. I'm sorry, it's fine. Yes.
Yeah. So where's the best place? So people do have like, because I'm glad you said that, because when we talked about that on a podcast, I was like, the best thing to do is just go and say, and then go speak to someone afterwards. Where's the best place for the people to go if they have like rules queries and that?
Pop to God. Pop to God. I probably wouldn't approach another ref. I would let it be handled, because what will normally happen is it'll get logged as person got pulled by a ref, query this. It'll then go to one of the head refs, or it'll go to ref desk, so it'll go to somebody like Emma or Rich. They'll look at it and make a call, and if we have done something, they do come back to us and say, naughty, that was the wrong call to make. And I've done it as a ref. I have been skirmishing one day and battle reffing the next, and messed up on the skirmish because of what I was doing, and then the next day the ref that gave me the warning saw me coming along and saw me putting on a ref's tabard. And I went, I know, I messed up. I'm sorry. No, it's cool. There's like no hard feelings at all. It's just everybody messes up from time to time. That's fine. Just don't do it again.
But it sounds very much like a sports ref. Is it because a sports, my understanding of a sports ref is that you're there to be impartial, and you're there to facilitate the rules and facilitate safety, and that's it basically.
Pretty much it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's about the size of it. And there's going to be circumstances that you wouldn't normally come across in your day-to-day life, and there's going to be emergencies that happen, and it's about thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
And I think this is the most important thing when it comes to being a ref. Loads of people assume that being a ref means you have an encyclopedic knowledge of the game and you know all the rules. No, doesn't happen. The most valuable thing you can do as a ref is go, I don't know, I'm going to go and ask.
Yeah.
Never be scared to ask, because you don't know. And if you can't find it on the wiki or the rule set or whatever, go seek out the answer. It might be something that's been missed, or it might be such an esoteric question that there's not previously been an answer for it.
Well, that's the thing, when you've got so many people interacting with a rule set, sometimes things are going to come up like that. It's just like, actually, is this how it works? And then it might not, the scenario might never have come up before,
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I take it like the rest as well. So like, I know you said that there's different parts that you have refs and things.
Mm-hmm.
Do refs tend to stick to their own sort of special areas usually? As in, if somebody has a very high knowledge in the battlefield and the calls and things like that, would those people more likely just stick to that area? Or is it a bit more fluid than that? Like, do you have days where you could end up anywhere on the field doing anything?
So it's a good question. I think it depends, because of the split that you have when you sign up as a ref to go, do you want to be like skirmish or are you going to be field? Like, I went, well, I can't walk about too much, so I'm going to concentrate on Regio, and I'm going to specialize in magic and rituals and how you process them. And there are some refs who enjoy the fluidity of just being able to flip from camp to camp and do odd jobs. And there are some that will just stick to one thing, and they're so efficient on it, and they will just keep doing that, and they know it inside out. It does depend. But the nice thing is that there's availability to do that. Yeah. Because that's not something you might get in other systems. So you have got the freedom to go, okay, well, I'm going to focus on this. We all good with that? Yeah, cool. Okay, go. Because there's so much of the game to cover. Mm-hmm. You need that kind of spread from the amount of refs that we do. Please join. If you're considering joining the ref team, please do. We actually need more. So yeah, it isn't just about doing 30,000 steps a day and visiting every single camp. Sometimes it is, I'm going to stay in this general area and help out for this, and then I'll go and see what else can be done. And sometimes that's just going to God and sitting on the ref desk. The ref crews that come in there. So.
Yeah, I'll put the email and the links all down in the description, so people, because I know we had Mike on from NPC, and he was like, we need more NPCs, but I think I think another hole to be filled is refs. I mean, how many is it? A lot you need, or is it like
not as many as Mike needs for NPC?
Right. Okay.
But still quite a few.
Still quite a few. Yeah, it's the thing with a game that I think so many people love playing, and it's such a popular game that it's like every time I speak to someone on the crew side, I'm just like, you know what, that actually sounds really, really fun actually to do that, but I also really want to play the game.
That's the problem. So with other roles, like people like who work in God do get playtime. If you work on traffic crew, you get playtime. If you work on red capping in general, you get playtime. Refs don't. We don't. I had approximately an hour last event to play as my character, and I can't get involved in plot. I can't go and do crime. No crime. Cannot do crime on someone. I can't go and do anything impactful because that's, I shouldn't, as an ancillary rest and relaxation character, go and do things that impact the game, and then go and put my ref tabard on and possibly referee that. No, that's just we keep the two nice and separate.
Yeah.
But convincing people to go jump the fence, no, you can't play.
Yeah.
And please subscribe to do this for an amount of time rather than just an event.
Yeah.
It is difficult.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's why the majority of the referees that we have are slightly older and have done it in other systems and or have played a character and now they're like, yeah, I'm good now. I've played what I wanted to. I'll go and referee.
Yeah.
So it's trying to convince people to give up their character for a bit.
Yeah, it depends on.
Yeah.
Do you ever get any involved in any like the plot side of it at all? Because I know that's what because Mike obviously was saying, oh yeah, I've seen quite. I think he said to us, oh yeah, I feel like I've seen too much now. I've seen too much to go back and play from the like behind the curtain.
Yeah, it not direct involvement until recently because I started making props and stuff for certain plot lines. I've been making soundscapes for various encounters. But the thing is, when you're refereeing for people, I think it's more so in the Regio. I'm not sure about other areas, but definitely in the Regio. People will come up to us like, we've just done this ritual to find out what this item does, and this is happening, and this is happening. And, you know, magic shit happens at the Regio. Plot happens at the Regio. I get to live vicariously through so many people and see so many snippets of plot and see what's going on from like a fly on the wall perspective, which is like, this is perfect. I don't need to do anything. I just need to sit here and process things and watch it like popcorn all fold out. This is great. You would not catch me playing again full time.
Yeah.
It is far more interesting for me to sit as a fly on the wall and be like, let me live vicariously through all your lovely characters. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect like people watching situation.
Oh, yes.
I just feel like, wow.
This is wonderful.
Entertainment for a full weekend.
Yeah, because for people who don't know, like non-Empire goers, like there's only one Regio in the entire camp, right? In the entire field, right? So you get to see what every single nation is like up to and what they're casting and things like that. So
everybody doing their sneaky like 11 o'clock at night rituals, like, you know, whisper gallery things and whispers through the black gate and what rituals they're putting on generals and all that stuff, and stuff that isn't necessarily Regio related, but they come to us to like look at a curse on an item or do a skein of years or just something happens at the Regio. We're there, we're watching it, and it's great fun. I love it. I think the only other place I prefer being would maybe be in the hub, but that would require me being a civil servant. So
what about because you said you're making props and things like that. I think you mentioned cosplay actually before we started start recording. Do you because what kit, because you just have like you just got your ref stuff on now, do you miss like wearing all the different kits or anything?
Yeah, because I think that is the biggest thing that I miss, is because I put so much effort into following the brief and making it so unique to that character and to that nation, and like outfitting it and getting little like beads pyrographed, and like I've got black hair, right? I would have to keep my hair the color of my character's hair for as long as I played that character, because I can't really wear wigs too often because my head's too big. Don't at me. All that like little attention to detail.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I don't struggle to go to the toilet because I've got too many layers on. I don't have to take plate or chain off. I don't have to like go, oh, my boots are wet from yesterday. Oh, I could have put those on again. I'm not strangling myself in bodices and collars and having to wrap up with cloaks. I can just go put my Berghaus coat on and then stick my ref jacket over the top. It's comfort. And yes, I miss it. But now that I'm doing some like plot prod and doing props and costumes, I get to do that side of it and create something really cool that only needs to be worn for a short amount of time. And then I can go put my onesie back on and then I'm happy.
It's like
Right.
honestly, like the hearing all this stuff, speaking to yourself and other crew people. It's like a theater product. It's like a lot. It's like a
Oh, it is.
audience
Yeah.
participation theater backstage kind of stuff,
Like,
isn't it?
for people who don't know, the person who heads up plot production is a guy called Phil D'Souza, who works in theater
Yeah,
and theater productions.
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
So those encounter tents and things like the Regio, it's theater. Like, we're not kidding. It's theater. They are set up as you would do in an interactive theater experience, which is why if you ever get a chance to do an encounter in an encounter tent, go and do it. 100%. You are missing out on some of these amazing set builds if you go, nah, I'm just gonna go to the pub. Honestly, like some of the stuff that's been cranked out of there, I can't, like, this looks like it's on a movie set.
It's like, it sounds like, because I've seen a couple of pictures and I've heard people's descriptions, and I'm just like, I think it would be a dream to actually be able to see that, because I mean, some of the things already. So last event we went on a conjunction, and we went to speak to a herald, and it was out in the woods, and there wasn't I mean, I don't think there was a huge amount going on set wise, but at the same time there was.
Yeah.
Because it didn't feel like there was 3,000 people in a field next to us. It felt like we were isolated, and the smoke machine that was getting used made this herald look obviously unhuman, like floating towards us, and it was terrifying in the best possible way. It had all the winter creepiness, just perfect. And so you do like cool, things, cool special effects things and costumes. Do you do any of the set dressing as well, or do you like decide kind of where certain things work when it comes to matching certain costumes and special effects?
So no, weirdly enough, because I'm not a full-time member of plot prod or set dressing. My partner, who's currently out, is. And he does a lot of the set dressing and works with people like Wookie and Phil D'Souza and other people on the plot prod team to do the set dressing. And the sets are normally dictated by what plot has requested. So we're like, I need this particular scene, go and set it up. With the stuff that I'm making at the minute, one piece has been requested by one piece of plot, another by another. But the costume that I'm doing, I've been given full creative liberties.
Right, so Autumn, you do an audio version of the Empire wiki. Where did the idea for that come from? I don't even know how long you've been doing it either.
So I can't take full credit for it because it actually started out with somebody called Ian Horn, as they're known on Facebook, who longtime veteran LARPer, who around about the time that the Spiral and the Black Plateau incidents were happening, wanted to do like recordings of the Winds of Fortune and the Winds of War, just for like mostly radio play type stuff. I got involved because I was like, well, I've done some voice acting in the past. I've got a pretty good recording setup. Let's have a go. Because what we really wanted to do was like a creepy version of the Black Plateau reading.
Right.
Because it was creepy.
Yeah.
Like the Black Plateau was something else. I loved that plotline. And, I think Ian wanted to continue doing it, but got a little one and quite busy. And so, okay, cool. So I carried on doing it. And then went, this is actually really helpful for my ADHD, because with the Winds of Fortune, Winds of War, it's a lot of text. It's a lot to take in. I thought, well, wouldn't it be handy to have like all of them as an accessibility aid? Because like there's going to be some people in the same position that I'm in. So okay, cool. And it actually started off with me doing all of them. Every single one. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is taking more time than my actual job. I can't. So I started like roping people into it and be like, you want to come help out? And I can't actually remember when we started. It hasn't been going for more than 5 years. But bit by bit, we've slowly built up a roster of people, and we put it on YouTube, and then we put it on Spotify or like another platform. And now we've got like a Discord and a community and like a roster of people, and people asking to audition. And I'm like, we just hit past like 560 subs on the channel. I'm like, how did this happen? Like, what's happening? Why do I have so many subs? And the answer is because a lot of people on that field are neurodiverse or neurodivergent and find it useful. So that's how it all started.
It's the things with the wiki. I enjoy reading but it's so information dense.
So much.
That's the thing, and it's like I speak to a lot of people that struggle with it, and it's not so much the writing, or I have ragged on the wiki quite a lot, but I'm not saying that I have a solution for PD to be like, I don't have a solution. I know it's the good thing about the wiki is that you can constantly change it. But for a lot of us, like, so I know, Robin, you struggle with that amount of text, especially if you have to do it. If people are like, all right, well, this is happening at the next event, you should go read this wiki, and you go onto it, and you're just like, because a lot of time, Robin, don't you, when I'm like, oh, the Winds of War are out, you should definitely read it, and you just like, I can just see you like scrolling. You scroll to see how much there is before you even start reading.
I can't. So I basically I have dyslexia, and if I need to read it, I have to copy it all and paste it into something else with a dyslexia font. And I tried it on a reader at one point as well. And it's just so monotone, it doesn't come through right. And I was just like, I literally need to wait until Oliver's read it, and then he'll come and read it to me if it's like Just Escape, because I can't read it all. And it's too much. But so like, obviously, like you said, like that's the idea. I guess that's where the idea stemmed for with the audio, is to have it so that people who cannot read that much information have got a way of actually listening to it. It's also the time, I guess, as well. Like, I mean, the time it takes to read through it all, being able to listen, it's just
I mean, like, some people think it's as simple as, okay, the fortunes have dropped, ELA will come out with a version of it in a couple of days. And it's like, not quite. So the way it used to be is that all the fortunes and walls were written slightly differently, until Raph, love him, bless him, went, we're not writing this so it can be read out loud. We're writing this so it can be read. So what used to happen is we get the fortunes, and we'd have to edit the full entry to make it work to be read aloud. Because reading a sentence that's like 2 lines long on a sheet of A4 doesn't work so well if you're reading it aloud, because you're literally doing this every single word and have to carry on. It doesn't work. But I think Raph eventually realized that, and when we've started sort of altering how we're writing things a little bit, and that is just a speculation, because the writing styles did change. And there's a couple of different writers who write for PD. So, and we can pick up on normally who's written what, because there's significantally different writing styles sometimes.
I can imagine.
So but it's a lot. And it requires that, when I say to people who come to audition or want to join up, I'm like, if you pass muster with the auditions and you get onto the team, you've got to be available, because these take time. We've got it down to a pretty fine art now, don't get me wrong. And readers know, they read the script at least once. They look at the words that they might have trouble pronouncing. And then they go and record it, and then they do their basic editing. So like editing out long pauses, big breath stops, gasps, mistakes, re-recording that.
Crying.
Crying, going, oh my God.
The Hounds of Glory.
And if you're Sam Bradley, you record a quick quip at the end so that I can post it on the Empire Discord. And he's caught me out a couple of times where I've missed it and it's made it through. Nightmare.
I love that.
Then it comes to me, and then I'm like, right, okay, I got to go produce the backing for it. I've got to put the EQ onto it, listen to it once, make sure there's no like huge mistakes in it, balance out the audio, pass it through Premiere, stitch it together, extract the audio from the finished video to go onto the Spotify and re-EQ it.
Yeah. Upload it and render it to YouTube.
Render it, upload it to YouTube, and then they're out there in the world. With the Winds of War, it's not so bad because it's like between 3 and 6. Winds of Fortune can be like 26.
Yeah.
That's a lot, to the point where I'm like, me and normally Chris Payne are sat on a Wednesday furiously getting the last couple out. Because what people don't realize is we get the wins when everybody else does.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, do you literally have to wait until they come onto the wiki? Like, you don't get them like beforehand, so you can like, you know, record a few things.
Nope. We get them. Like, everybody gets them when they're written. It's not like they're waiting to release them. When they're done, they're done, and they go out the door. And that's when we get them. Because if they gave them to us in a draft state, they'd be wrong.
Yeah.
So there's no point sending it to us early. But, you know, we have got a couple of people on the team who I can go, right, how are we looking for drafts? When are the next ones coming? And we'll get like maybe a few clues.
Oh, so you got a bit of an inside track then to be like,
like we'll get a clue about when it's dropping.
So you can at least like free up a couple of days after. If you need time to record and stuff.
Yeah. And we'll get a general idea of how long it might be. But because wins kind of follow on event after event, we have the rough idea of how many we're expecting. So we put bets down on how many Winds of Fortune we're going to get. And we can normally go, well, we've not had like the Winds of Magic and Plenty yet, so those are still going to come. You know, that's happening in that area, so that's definitely going to be mentioned. We've been lucky this time around because of what's happened, making the sign of the cross. Oof, rip. We only had 3 Winds of Water record. Fantastic. Nobody really needs to do a lot. But we're 2 weeks away. And we have no fortunes. So it's either going to be under 20 or over 25. Those are my 2 guesstimates at this point.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot, and we have to dedicate time to doing it.
Has it increased over the time you've been doing? Like, are there more now, or is it usually around about the same?
There's loads now.
Yeah,
loads. There weren't so many back when I started doing it, although that could be me with rose tinted glasses. But as far as I can remember, there used to be less Winds of War and Winds of Fortune. I
honestly like that, because those wins. I don't know whether it's just because I've paid more attention now because I'm not a new player now, but I was paying attention to the wins when they were coming out this year, and I was just like, my God, they're like coming out like 48 hours before the actual event. Like, what's how on earth do you just go, we need to? Because I'm assuming that obviously the plot writing team are under a pressure as well, and they're like, we need to get this out, we've got so many to do. So I can totally imagine that they're not even thinking about you. They won't even think about you guys.
They and bloody hell, don't think about us. Like, if we get them out, we get them out. The writers are under such pressure to get them out all before the event. That's why they've got like a little cast of writers. Because leaving that all on like one person, like Matt or Raph, would break them. It's too much. So like, no, guys, crack on. We get them when we get them. It is what it is. And if the worst should happen and I don't have any readers available, I'll be up on Wednesday night recording the last ones, and I'll do my damnedest to get them out.
Yeah. If you ever had to be like, oh yeah, I'll just like record, I'll just do whatever. I'll do this one. I'll do a live stream and just just read it from the screen for people.
I have recorded ones off my phone.
Yeah.
In a hotel.
Yeah.
Because that has been the size of it. I'm like, it's getting out, whether we like it or not. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But thankfully, because of the amount of people that I've got on staff for it, we can spread it out, and it's not so frantic.
Yeah.
But it tends to be that because a lot of the volunteers that we've got for ELA are players, they're packing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning. So they want to like get into the headspace and get the cars packed and, you know. So it tends to be like down close to the wire. There's a small cadre of people inside ELA who are just like, we'll get this done by hook or by crook.
Yeah.
And 2 team members did so well last event that I gave them 2 open tickets. I was like, you absolutely smooshed that. Please take my tickets that I'm never going to use. I have no other way of recompensing you. Thank you.
Like you said, it's a lot to go through as well. Like, 'cause, like you say, it's like even when you're like editing a podcast, a lot of the time I don't have to edit too much, but you like obviously you have to sit through the full duration of it to check that everything's okay. And I bet you're like, well, everything's recorded. Now I have to sit through 4 hours even if it's completely fine, I don't need to touch it. I still have to sit through it at an absolute minimum.
I mean, I can stick it on like double speed, 3 times speed, and get through it pretty quickly. Yeah. If it's a newer reader, if it's people that I've worked with for a long time, it's easier because I know what their cadence is. I know how they like to set stuff up, and they get better at editing their own stuff.
Yeah.
There has been situations where I've gone, I don't have time. I've applied an EQ, listened to 30 seconds and gone, I trust that you've gotten this right. And then thankfully it's gotten out and it's been absolutely okay. But we're now at the point where like every person who reads for me has an EQ profile in my version of Adobe Audition. So I'm not sat there tweaking it. It's like, nope, that's Sam. Apply that.
Apply that because that's what Sam needs. It sounds like it's good that you've got a little community, because that's what I sometimes read it and I can't even pronounce some of the stuff in my head sometimes especially if it's something to do with, you know, the Wintermark side of the game that I have no idea on, that I read this thing and it's in Wintermark lore and I'm like, I don't even know how to even make sense of that in my head, never mind read out loud. So I guess it's good that you've got a little community there that people can be like, just reading about this, how do I say this?
And that's the thing, like Empire does have like a cursory pronunciation guide on the wiki.
Wait, they do?
Yep. There is one, but it's not for everything.
Okay.
So like if it's a complicated Finnish word, I'm like, right, I think the root language of that place name is Finnish. I'll go run it through a translator and be like, I used to speak a little bit of Finnish. I get an idea of how to pronounce this. Yeah. And then say if something's like Dutch, I'll pass it to somebody in the ELA team who speaks Dutch or whatever they speak. Yeah. And just go, how the hell do we pronounce that? And they'll record it and send it back to us.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, as long as people know what you're talking about, does it really matter?
Yeah, because who's the authority on that? Because technically, like the players would be the authority in it because they're the ones talking about it,
right? And there's been heated discussions about this because, so my character was in Navarre. Some people said Broceliand and some people say Broceliand, right? I would fight people because it's Broceliand, right? It's Broceliand.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely Brussels. It's not a soft C. It's a K sound, Broceliand. And it's like, does it really matter? No, not really. For stuff like that, it's place names. You know, we try to get it as right as we can for character names because to me, that's much more important that I get someone's name right.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the text, like it has to be as accurate as possible, as easy to listen to as possible. And, you know, we can't be mispronouncing simple things because then you lose the meaning of the text.
Yeah.
But for nouns, for some of them, it's just like, say what comes to mind at that point if none of us know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, there's no real. Do you have to like then? Have you ever had to like message like a player and be like, "Hey, how do I pronounce your pronounce your name?" Because like you said, you don't want to get that wrong because yeah.
And you kind of get used to it because, like, say if you've got to win a war or win a fortune with like a Brass Coast name in it, you know it's da Guerra. And you follow that. If it's Wintermark, it's almost probably gonna end in Dottir if it's a femme presenting character. There's been certain situations where there's been funny place names, like funny readings of certain things. Like there's Olgaf's Dottir's Hall in Wintermark, which some people would pronounce as Oglaf Dottir's Hall. And for people who know the meaning of Oglaf, it's like, don't say that. Please don't record that. But for actual names of people, some of them can get a little bit difficult, and you've got to go check with the character if you can, because then you're having to hunt down somebody.
Hunt down the character, yeah.
You're like, who is that? Who knows them? Like, does anybody else know? On the whole, it's not a huge concern. We normally get it right, and because it's not normally just a first name, it'll be first name and then either second or middle and last, and then where they're from. Even if we pronounce it wrong, God forbid, people normally know who the hell we're talking about. So it's not so bad.
I guess that's the thing. Like, as long as like the information, the important information is getting across, so people can actually hear it and understand it, and like we're all human. Some things are going to be pronounced differently, and we've all got like different cadences and things like that as well, so we'll all say things slightly differently, so some place names are pronounced differently anyway,
slightly differently. And that's fine. Like we really don't mind too much about that. If I know a handful of people who will pronounce the same thing in Empire completely differently, and that's fine. We all know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So it's just making sure that the actual audio quality is good and the rate of speech and your cadence and your pattern is as accurate and as easy to listen to as possible.
Like you said, because you're putting it across as an accessibility tool, as well. So it's I never actually thought about that. Because when they are writing it up, and like you said, it's some of them are writing it to be read, not spoken aloud, because it's more of a game information type thing. But when you're listening to something, you want a bit of a narrative, don't you? You want a bit of this is the, because that's how I learn. I think that's why I don't tend to get on with it that well, is because I get on better if it's like a Winds of War and my character's invested, because I can, if there isn't the story there, I can inject the story into it. But sometimes I'll try and read other Winds of Fortune that I have I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. I have no idea. Half the names, I'm like, I'm going to have to follow these links because I don't know where that is. And then by the time I've done that, I've kind of lost my train of thought on what I think about what's going on here. And I'm just like, no, never mind. I'll ask a character about it.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's why I kind of like when people do the small bullet pointed TLDRs on them and go like, this is the core information that you need out of this. Follow it up if you want. Done. But some people like the fluff and the narrative, and I love the narrative on a lot of them. And there's some that I end up reading that I'm like, I don't care about this. I'm human. I don't care about this, but that's fine. Like we try to make it as interesting to listen to as possible. Nobody wants to hear the shipping forecast, so it's best that we get people who are emotive with their speech and can narrate well, and don't treat it as though they're just reading a shopping list. And I know that sounds harsh to some people, and I feel bad when I have to turn people away and say, I'm really sorry that either like the audio quality isn't good enough. We can give you advice on where to like up your hardware or like soundproof your room so it's not bouncing all the time. Or we can give you resources on how to maybe narrate something a certain way, or, slow down your reading, speed up your reading, put inflection on certain things. But I feel like garbage when I have to tell somebody I'm really sorry.
There's a lot of there's a lot of text there. You know, it's a lot of it's a lot. It's not it's not a starter narrator set. It's a lot of text with a lot of a lot of place names that you might know where it is. You're not going to be able to emote these are place names if you can't even pronounce it, and it's not
it's hard.
It's not reading a children's book. I mean, I've used your stuff for like informative purposes because I when in fact this event just passed, I was like I was doing a bit of kind of lance commanding, and I was like I need to basically I want to know what the conjunction opportunities are, and then again because it's informative, I'm like I read it and I'm like okay, only about 10% of that has actually gone in. So then when I was driving around right before the event, I literally just had that Winds of Fortune on just on loop the whole time.
Yep.
So I was getting
Listening
every single piece of information. I'm like, right, that's the objective. That's the objective. But the thing with that is that I see where the pressure comes from, because after the event, all that specifically that one, all that information is redundant because it's already
gone.
It's already happened. So.
It's done, and that's the thing. Like we produce them, we release them, right? We get an initial hit when they get released, especially if it's something like what happened to the hounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
The initial hit on that was like, oh boy, loads of people are watching this.
Yeah.
And we get a quiet period, right? And then on like the Thursday of an event, our listens will skyrocket.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got it on in their car.
Yeah.
Listening to it on the way down, and they're just cycling because we can see like exactly what's being played and who's listening in real time. So when we get past an event and they're done, it almost drops to zero.
Yeah.
On those ones. And don't get me wrong, some people go through like a playlist to go, okay, that one happened, then that one happened, then that one happened. But it's not there's no rewatchability in them. It's not, and that's bad for the YouTube algorithm. It's awful for it.
I was going to ask, are you thinking about doing any other like content that could be like evergreen to do with like Empire the wiki or anything like that?
We are. So we've got a little project on at the minute to literally record the wiki. Like record the wiki. We've started, and we're working through Eternals at the moment. We've done some of the nations, starting on the Eternals. Then what we want to do is like, if you've seen crash courses on YouTube, and it's like little playlist of we want to start producing those. Like being like, how to get into magic, how to get into apothecary, how to whatever, right? Before we do those, we want to run it through with PD to make sure that the information is up to date and that no significant changes are coming to any of those areas. The other thing that a team member has mentioned is they'd like to run or release an Empire themed roleplay session between all the readers so we can do group reads.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that sounds really good. That
sounds amazing. We probably can't do it between events because we're going to be too busy.
Yeah.
But it's a nice long dark project where we can keep some of the keen alive and keep people's skills fresh. When it comes to read. So there's a couple of things dotted about that we're trying to do, but again, real life comes first.
I like the idea of that. Are you thinking like you say you want to put the like you're reading the wiki, but some of it, like you say, Eternals, are you taking a little bit of artistic license with that and being like, oh yeah, this is because like you said, the wiki kind of reads one way, and if it's in audio form, you're just like it might be better if I described the Eternal this way.
The way that we probably want to do it is if we're describing Eternals is do it like a storyteller. So say if you were describing Wise Rangara from a Varushkan's point of view, I probably want to put in a soundscape with like a fire and crows cawing and put on a slightly Varushkan accent and pretend to be a wise one or something. Just to like give it that little bit of flavor.
I love that.
But for core mechanical stuff, that's like, these are the rules. This is no longer flavor text. These are the rules. You've got to be like direct to the point, succinct. Like you've got a bullet pointed voice so the information sticks.
Yeah, I mean, you almost want the two different. I mean, you want like basically shorter form, like this is the rule part of it, this is the eternal. You're just like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about Soren, blah, blah, blah. This is Soren, blah blah blah, and then you could be like, okay, this is how plenipotentiaries work, blah blah blah, and they're two separate videos maybe or something like that. Yeah.
So you can have like more flavorful ones, and you can have more sort of direct rules and mechanics based ones. And the more mechanics based ones, I probably operate like a crash course. And be like, these are the key things to remember for this subject, and here's where to find more information. But this is like your quick start list of where to look and where to go and what to know. But things like the Eternals and stuff are so flavorful in and of themselves. There's so much opportunity there to have a little bit of artistic license with them, like you say, and make them a little more rich.
What I like about that idea is that the search function in YouTube is a little bit better than the search function in a wiki. So it's like I would be pretty confident being like, I really need to know about Soren, plenipotentiary, whatever. And just I type it into YouTube, and I guarantee it will just like pop up the video. It's like, this is literally the video that you are looking for. Whereas the wiki is sometimes just like, I don't know, was this what you were looking for?
That doesn't exist. It's like,
do you want to create a page?
Soren, yeah. I type in Soren, it's like, no such page exists, and it goes into related pages, Soren, and I'm like,
oh my god! See, like before for last summer, and I'm like trying to do like my winter eternal like studying, the day before. So I was
typical.
I was like going through all and everything, and I was like, okay, and I searched like winter eternal. There's just like no page found. I was like there's the right number of words there to come up with a page, and it's got all the related content. I'm like, that's the page, and it's called the thing I searched.
I feel like this is a pattern because I feel like I can't remember what I searched, but it was something very, very just fundamental in Empire, and I searched, and it was just like, no idea what you're talking about. I'm like,
it was when you were looking for a combat rule. I remember this. It was a combat rule you were looking for, and you were like, combat, strike down, rules.
That's right, yeah, because that's right. I think I typed something like strike down and was like, no idea what you're talking about, and then I literally had to be like, type the word rules and then followed the thread.
Jesus. Oh Jesus. But like talking about YouTube search functions, so that some of the Winds of War, Winds of Fortune have got titles which are sometimes song names, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When you do that and you name Winds of War and Winds of Fortune as song titles, some people will come looking for those song titles, not for your Winds of War. They will come looking for that specific song by Taylor Swift.
I was going to say, especially all the recent ones that have gone out.
Hey,
and then we get dislike bombed. We get dislike bombed.
Oh.
Dislike bombed. And it's actually, I mean, we're not making money out of it, and we're not here to like grow a YouTube channel to monetization. But still,
you're getting close.
we're getting close.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those scenarios where like when all the Taylor Swift ones came out, we were like, this might end badly. The three longest Johns or something like that. The longest Johns. They had a particular song that was same title as A Wind of Fortune, and that one, I'd wondered why it jumped up 500 views overnight. Like, why is that? 1 second. Literally, like, YouTube searched the song name, and we're like the second video.
Really?
I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like alter the keywords on that to make sure that doesn't happen. But there's only so far you can take it. So,
I mean, I wouldn't even know how. I mean, I guess you could like put the title on the thumbnail and not in the title. But it's
that's
like,
what I was thinking. Yeah, like thumbnail title, like make it like on the actual thumbnail, but then like the actual title just being more generic. But like, again, because that's the thing. Because I remember like coming through and I was like reading like all the titles, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, oh, these are all Taylor Swift songs. And then I didn't realize.
It took us an
until you
embarrassingly
just
long
said
time.
it now. I didn't realize that was a thing with all of them until you literally said it.
Sorry, not with all of them. It's
Okay.
a Raf thing, and Raf does it.
Okay.
More often than not, Raf. I put it on his Patreon recently. I was like, "You are hurting my YouTube views, Lord Raf. Please stop." It's not with all of them, but it is with a good subset of them. And now you've noticed it, you'll start looking for it.
Yeah.
You'll be like,
Yeah.
where are these song titles from?
Yeah.
So it's one of the impacts, but because we're not trying to make money and we're not trying to super increase our views or anything to go beyond the target market of Empire,
Yeah.
it's not too bad, but still we do get really angry comments sometimes. We do get dislike bombed, the
internet.
Yeah, we've had people going, "This isn't the song. What the beep are you doing?" And I'm like, you can read from the description what this is. Right?
Also, the time it's taken you to type this comment, you could have found the actual song.
You could have gone away and got on with your day,
Oh, the
So,
internet.
yeah.
Internet. Why did we do it?
I
Oh,
know,
the
I know.
internet. Anyway, we are at time. Autumn, is there anything else you want to plug? Do you want to tell people where they can find your YouTube and any other platforms that you have?
Yeah, so we are on YouTube. If you search for Empire LARP Audio, we are also on Anchor, so that's Spotify's podcast platform. So if you pop onto Spotify and search for the Empire LARP Audio, you can find nearly all of our updates since the start of the year there. And we also have a Discord. So if you go onto our recent video on our YouTube channel entitled ELA Discord, you can find the link to join up there.
Excellent. I'll put all the appropriate links as well in the description of this episode as well. Autumn, it's been a pleasure. It's been fun. That time flew by. We'll have to have you on again sometime and chat more, because we went. There was a lot of ref chat that I wanted to keep talking about reffing as well. I was like, no, we need to talk about your YouTube channel. So hopefully maybe one day you'll come back on. Yeah, right. We'll say goodbye to the podcast, everyone, shall we?
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you very much for stopping by. If you want to go check out the Empire LARP audio channel, the links are in the episode description. If you liked this episode, please consider following and subscribing so you know when a new episode is posted. Until that time, though, you can go and check out some of our other content that we have done. Until the next time, though, we love you and stay safe.